Today's video, it is all about the 5 things you need to survive on the frontier. I sent the challenge out to some of our staff members here at the museum. We've got Josh, the office manager, Chance and Megan, tour guides, and Melody, our head preservationist. So the rules of the game were pretty simple. You can only bring 5 things with you on the frontier, or small, collection of things, but they had to be items found on board the Arabia, and you have to explain or justify your reason for bringing it. Now, when we first had this idea, we talked about it in our last video, and in the comments section, someone actually suggested that I read this book. It's called The Prairie Traveler, a handbook for overland expeditions. It was written by a guy named Randolph B. Marcy. In 1857, this guy led a troop of soldiers through the Rocky Mountains in midwinter to safety after having lost all their supplies for 2 weeks. So after like 14 days of an entire company of soldiers having no supplies, this guy rolls in and is like, I got this. So this dude was pretty legit. When it comes to knowing firsthand what you need to survive on the frontier, this guy was the guy. Remember, he led that troop of soldiers through the mountains in 1857. 1857? Yeah, 1857. The Arabia sank in 1856. So this guy is right in this time period in American history. In the book, he breaks down what kind of clothes to bring, how much of it to bring, how to handle stampedes, forging rivers, preferred saddle types, snake bites, ideal tent designs, telegraphing by smoke signals, hunting, even what's the best camp furniture. No joke, camp furniture. So this guy is covering pretty much everything. So to the best of my ability, we're gonna compare the things that our staff comes up with to what Marcy writes in his book, and we're gonna see who has the chops to survive on the frontier. First up, we have Josh, the office manager. Josh's 5 are a hatchet, scroll bottle for water, matches, some rope, and a lady's companion. This was the most interesting item to me, a lady's companion. It was a small sewing kit that would hold a needle case, thimble, tab of beeswax, thread, scissors, and various small items so a lady could always have the ability to sew on the go, trademark pending. In the section talking about the clothing to bring on the frontier, Marcy actually points out to bring thread, large needles, a bit of beeswax, paper of pen, and a thimble, all contained in a small buckskin or stout cloth bag. So it looks like Josh is off to a pretty good start. Next we have Megan. She had an interesting mix of items that I don't think I would have brought, but we're gonna let her go down her list here. She started off with a hatchet, smart move, and then adds in an extra pair of boots. Marcy writes, 2 pairs of stout shoes. Megan nailed it. Then a candle, a book, and a mule. Now what I appreciate about this is Megan is following the rules here of the game. I said that has to be an item found on board the Arabia. And of course we did find the remains of a mule. So Megan's bringing a mule. Not a bad idea. Good thought. The book though, I did ask everyone to justify or explain their reasoning, and Megan said, for any downtime I have, I want something to keep myself occupied. I can also use the pages as fire starters. Now, I'm not sure how much downtime people are gonna have trying to survive on the frontier, but then again, Marcy actually goes into talking about preferred camp furniture, so what do I know? Next, we're gonna take a look at Chance's list. I think it's best if Chance just gives you all his own rundown of his 5 items. Okay, well, Chance, thank you for coming. Chance, tour guide, preservationist. I saw the list. I think a little clarification is probably in order, and I thought it was best if you actually took us through your thought, your progression as to why, if you're rolling to the frontier, this is what you're rolling with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the idea with the coffee here was, if I fall asleep, how am I supposed to stop a wolf from attacking me? Like if I have a hatchet and I get attacked, what good is it gonna do if I'm asleep? Coffee beans, give the wolf a little bit of action, boom, we're good.
Okay, Frozen Charlotte.
So this doll is absolutely haunted. So the idea is, if I leave for the frontier and I don't have that ghost on my side, it's gonna be haunting me the whole time. But if the ghost is with me, if I bring it along, it'll be haunting other people and it'll keep me safe with some ghostly energy.
Okay. The doorknob's an interesting choice. Is this like a blunt instrument to defend yourself with?
No, it's purely for decor purposes. So I mean, look at these knobs here. You see how nice those are?
They're nice.
That's gonna immediately add about 15 horsepower to my wagon. It'd be like slapping hot rod flames on it. But instead it's with a fancy door, and I'm just adding a little bit of opulence on my trip out west.
Bullets. No gun.
I'm a very weak man. My arms don't work very well. So if I'm trying to lug a gun around the whole time, it's gonna do me zero good. But if I have bullets sitting on the table, some guy's gonna come rob my wagon. They're gonna see the bullets laying there on the table.
Right.
They're gonna think, has to have a gun. Of course there's,
Why would anyone bring a bullet but not a gun?
100%, yep.
That's interesting.
So it'll scare them off without actually having to see me carrying a gun, which will make them want to attack me more.
They've still robbed your wagon. Now, I guess all they really would have gotten was a doorknob and Frozen Charlotte at this point, though.
We're not gonna worry about that. Yeah, that's just too much bad energy, man.
Okay. And the hat as your final option.
So, heading out west, you've seen how sunny it is in California, things like that. Gonna need some shade. No way I'm not making it to the frontier with supplies these good. So the hat's kind of just a formality, like gonna have to block the sun somehow.
Okay, so Chance dies first. We're all in agreement with that. Now the last contestant today is Melody. Now Melody is our lead preservationist, and her list is pretty spot on. She's bringing to the frontier a pocket knife for small cutting tasks, such as cutting game, whittling utensils, or makeshift dishes for eating. Number 2, several yards of wool fabric where she could repair clothing, bedding, use it as a blanket for cold weather because it's warm and naturally water resistant. That's pretty smart. Next is a cast iron pot for the obvious things like cooking and boiling water for drinking, but she also mentioned that it can be used for rendering fats. I don't even know what that means. The 4th item is a crowd favorite, the hatchet, which she says will be great for cutting firewood, helping cut wood for shelters, or if need be, butchering larger game. And the 5th item on her list is a length of rope. Her reasoning for the rope is using it for setting up a shelter system with her wool that she brought or hides if available. Rope could be used to safely bring down taller trees, hauling longer logs or brush to a campsite for cutting, devising a trap for game, and even as a fire starter if there are frayed pieces. What I get from Melody's list is it's not just about having the right items, it's about knowing how to get the most out of your items. Because I could see Melody surviving, with all her explanations, her detailing of why she's bringing those things, she knows what she's doing out there on the frontier. If you give me those 5 items, Chance and I died day 1. Melody, on the other hand, I could see Melody surviving pretty well. Like, I could see her teaming up with Josh and Megan, and with all their 5 items, they're gonna do pretty well for themselves. So that's what our staff came up with for our 5 to survive. Some were good, some not so much, but it was pretty fun, I think. It was fun to get these things together and kind of compare and see what people would have thought, kind of see how their minds are working. But what about you guys? Did we miss anything? Have you all been to the museum? Do you remember, a couple of items out there on displays that you would have brought with you if you were gonna survive on the frontier? If so, comment them down below. I'd love to read your list. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all in the next one.